the quiet suburb of Crestwood, where homes were nestled comfortably and peace usually reigned, a dark shadow began to fall. This was a place where neighbors would smile and wave as they passed one another, where children could be heard, laughing and playing in the sun-drenched lanes. The harsh ring of a bicycle bell, the distant hum of a lawnmower, the occasional bark of a dog were the only things that usually punctuated the peaceful drone of suburban life. However, this tranquil scene was about to be disturbed. The ordinary day-to-day life that people had become accustomed to was about to alter. The changes were heralded by a chill wind that swept through the tree-lined streets, causing leaves to rustle uneasily and doors to slam shut. An ominous cloud slowly began to creep over the once bright sky, casting an eerie gloom over the picture-perfect houses. It started with a scream, a spine-chilling, echo-laden sound that tore through the heavy silence of the night. This was not a sound born or exuberance, but rather a gut-wrenching scream of terror that sent icy tendrils of dread curling into the hearts of those who heard it. The suddenness of this outburst was a stark contrast to the serenity that had only moments ago permeated the town. It echoed down the neatly trimmed lawns, ricocheted off the well-kept houses, and shattered the veneer of normalcy the community had so carefully maintained. On Elm Street, a particular house stood out. The home of the Grayson family was a grand structure, with an aura of affluence and aristocracy. Its ivy-covered walls, gabled roofs, and archaic design seemed to harken back to a forgotten era of elegance. The Grayson home was always filled with life and laughter, but now it stood ominously silent, a sentinel in the growing darkness, its windows reflecting the eerie glow of the moon. Inside the Grayson home, everything was in its place, each artifact and piece of furniture reflecting the meticulousness of its owners. However, the house that was once filled with the sound of jingling laughter and soft whispers of love had succumbed to an oppressive quiet. The brilliant chandelier that hung grandly from the ceiling cast long, gloomy shadows on the polished wooden floor, and the portraits that adorned the walls seemed to look on with somber expressions. As minutes slipped into hours, the dread began to thicken. It hung heavily into the cracks and crevices of every home, choking the once vibrant life out of the community. It was as if the entire town was holding its breath, waiting for something, anticipating the unknown. Then, the tranquility was shattered by a blood-curdling cry. This was not the scream from before. This was something far more traumatic, a sound that was enough to freeze the blood in one's veins. It echoed through the still night, ringing off the walls of the silent houses, filling every nook and corner of the quiet suburb with its haunting resonance. In Crestwood, where everyone knew each other, a dark shadow had truly begun to fall. The next morning, the body of young Alice Grayson was found, her face frozen in terror. Detective Marcus Halloway, a seasoned investigator with a haunted past, was called to the scene. The brutality of the murder was unlike anything Crestwood had ever seen. A mask, grotesque and twisted, was left beside the victim, marking the killer's sinister signature. Halloway couldn't shake the feeling of familiarity. Years ago, he had faced a similar killer in the city, a case that had never been solved. The masked killer had vanished, leaving behind a trail of death and despair. As the days turned into weeks, the killings continued, each victim found with the same grotesque mask, each murder more brutal than the last. The suburb was gripped with fear, and the once peaceful nights were filled with whispers of dread. Halloway delved deeper into the case, piecing together clues that led him to a chilling revelation. The killer was not a stranger, but someone who knew Crestwood intimately, someone who blended in with the unsuspecting townsfolk. One fateful night, Halloway followed a lead to an abandoned house on the outskirts of town. Inside, he found a room filled with masks, each representing a life taken. And there, in the dim light, the killer awaited, mask in hand. The confrontation was brutal. Halloway fought not just for his life, but for the souls of the victims and the safety of Crestwood. In the end, he unmasked the killer, revealing a face he once trusted, a face twisted by madness and hate. With the killer caught, Crestwood slowly began to heal, but the scars remained. Detective Halloway, now hailed as a hero, knew that the shadows of the past could never be fully erased. The mask of nightmares would forever haunt his dreams.